Hi, Cindy Edwards here with Remax Checkmate, and I am here with Tim Arrowood with Preferred Rate Mortgage, and he is going to help us out a little bit and just kind of take us through manufactured homes and their listing and buying checklist because there's a lot to it, and there's enough to it that you need to know. So it's not going to take us long to go through it, but I have a checklist here. He created it, and I will have it that I can send it out to you at the end too. But with that said, Tim, it's all you.
Well, thank you, Cindy. So Tim Arrowood, Preferred Rate Mortgage. So we're we're licensed in Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Kentucky. And we can help you anywhere but the New York State. But it's a really good question, Cindy, about manufactured homes because there are some nuances I think that are important, especially knowing going in, because there's some bumps that we've seen across the road. The first thing really is, and you as a realtor would be helping perhaps the borrower or the seller understand these things, but the house needs to be built on or after June 15th of 1976, which the older I get, the longer that seems away. But there are a lot of houses out there that started out as a manufactured home that don't, and this is something we really haven't talked about before, but if it was a manufactured home, it's always a manufactured home. So even if there's really nothing left of the original structure, that's something that I call them the Frankenstein houses because they started out one thing, and you may not even be able to tell. But if it's on title, if it's on the deed, or if there's an inspector's looking and they see a beam underneath this part of the house, even though everything else has been removed, then it once a manufactured home, always a manufactured home. So those are some of the challenges I've seen. So built on or after June 15, 1976. We're looking for the HUD certification tags, data plates and those kind of things. Sometimes those are hard to find, especially if it's been, multiple remodels.
Can I
Um,
ask a quick question,
yeah, of
Tim?
course.
Okay, so a lot of times, well, pretty much all the time when we get to title, they
Mhm.
want to connect the home to the land.
Absolutely.
And what is that called?
It's called
Detail.
detitling. So,
And
the manufactured home comes as with a um, a car title, really. It starts out with wheels and it has a title and not a deed. So the house that somebody's selling may or may not be currently detitled. So that's one of the things that it would be better for a timing situations to detitle it. And that's done with the title company. You have to show that you have to show that you have the original title and you have to relinquish that. And now the house becomes real property. And so that
so that would mean that it's no longer a manufactured home, or
no,
is it still?
it's still a manufactured home. It just means that it is now, like, something I learned as I got more into the construction side of things was, okay, there's a lot of houses that are they will have been bought either paid cash for, and the house it's just a structure that's sitting on the dirt, right? And it hasn't been legally put together. So it's physically put together, right? The house is physically located there and it's properly tied down and those types of things. But it is also it has to be legally connected, right? So at that point, it's two separate entities. It's the land and it's a house, right? Now, when you legally put them together, they can't be removed, right? Or they can be, but like when I'm doing a loan for something, now it's all together, right? You're not going to be able to, just pull the house off of there and put something else there. So if you owned it outright, you can do that. But so what we're doing is we're detitling. So our collateral, I guess, is now legally a part of that. If that makes sense.
It
Um,
does.
so yeah, those are, and that's one of the things that we the title company is going to help us with that. But it is, as a listing agent, I would encourage you to when you meet with somebody, say, okay, let's get a picture of the data plate. Let's get it, let's understand what's going on. Do you have the title? Do you, or oh, it's already been detitled. Okay, great. because we can do that in the process of the mortgage, but it is a critical path item. So if we don't get it done, we can have everything else done, but we can't find the original title. Or, I mean, there's ways to get a lost title like there is with an auto, right? But
Mhm.
it can prove difficult. So having that stuff is really good.
I'm sorry, I hate interrupting you, but I
Oh, you're
want
good.
to make sure that I understand so everyone understands. When it's detitled and it becomes part of the land,
Hmm.
okay? And then it still has to be, it's still considered a manufactured home. I know that.
Right.
But after it's detitled and you sell it, so you have this property, you sold it to me.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So now I own this manufactured home, but it's been detitled and is part of the land. So
Hmm.
when I go to sell it,
Hmm.
I I have to, it's still a mobile home or a manufactured home,
Right, right.
but I don't have to prove the plates anymore. Is that
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. All that stuff's done.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. So
got it.
that makes it a little bit easier. Um, So, I mean, these are things that you would normally do, but verify the land ownership because it could have, if it's, is it titled as real property? Has it been detitled? Have you surrendered that title? Those are all things, can be done again during the transaction, but starting early is really helpful. Just to, I think that like if I'm going to sell my house, I want to declutter. Everybody has to declutter. But I also want to make sure I want to make sure as many things are cleaned up as possible so that it goes smoothly. And if you
Yeah.
don't want to detitle, but go through that process, at least have your documents together so that when the time comes, it goes quickly. Because, you may want to keep your options open to do something else. Um, Something else that is important is the manufactured home can be brought in and set on the site. And it's going to be on some sort of a foundation, but we're going to be specifically looking for is it on a permanent foundation and, is there proper skirting? Is it vented properly? Is it tied down and anchored to local standards? Have the wheels, axles, and the hitch been removed, right? Because, um, you know, we, those are just part of the checklist that we're going to go through. So there's going to be typically on government loans, VA, FHA, and USDA, there's going to be required that there is a foundation certification that happens. Many times it's with um, an engineer that's going to certify it. Sometimes qualified somebody that's been certified as a home inspector can do it.
Okay.
Um, so if it's a government loan, then those are all going to require an inspection. If it's a conventional loan, it may not. It will if there have been additions made to the house, right? So if it came as is and there's no decks and there's no add-ons, there's no garage, there's nothing else that's been added on, then you may not have to do that. But the majority of them are going to have something built onto them, right? Hey, I built this deck after the fact because we're looking at, the house was manufactured a certain way, and then if you attach other things to it, has it been done properly? Is it structurally sound? Did you connect it to the right place? Those kinds of things. So that's something, again, as an agent looking at it, you need to look at that. But as a seller, these are some of the things that people are going to start to look at, right? And if the deck is if you're scared to get on it, then the buyer's going to get scared to get on it, right? So those are all
Right.
things that you need to be aware of. Let me think. The standard things: permanent water, sewer, electrical connections, and these are more. If you're thinking about if you're going to be and this is probably not something you're going to run into, but people put single wides and double wides in trailer parks, and so
Hmm.
we those would be the only type of loan that I'm aware of that you can do for those is called chattel, and not cattle because I
Right.
confused that in the beginning, right? I don't do farm loans, but chattel loans, and you're just buying the house itself. Um, Something else that is not on my list is that we can only, if a house has been moved, so somebody buys a house, let's say it gets repoed by whoever, and then it gets moved to another location. Nothing wrong with the house. Physically, and everything looks fine. But the lending side of that, we frown on being able to do mortgages on a house that's been moved. And so I'm not sure exactly why, but I've run into that a few times. So if
Okay.
it's not new on that land, because I see them all the time, there's a house, and it's just weird for me to have a house that's been repossessed or they've traded it in, right? That's so foreign to me. trade in a house. What are you talking about? Like, oh yeah, people will trade in a single wide for a double wide, and it's like, okay,
Right.
that's different. Um, so those are some of the things that I think that are important. And then when it comes to financing expectations and the appraisal, like appraisals and pricing. So appraisal, you got to have comparable sales, right? So in our area, you shouldn't have a problem having comps, but certain areas may have challenge with that. And then the pricing for manufactured homes is just a little bit more expensive than it is for a site built home. And so I'm not sure exactly why that is. I think uh, it probably reflects some market what the market thinks about the resale value and other things. I don't know that those are holding true these days, but those are things to consider. Um,
When you say pricing, are you talking about per square feet or excuse me, per square foot, or are you talking about interest rates, or are you talking about the price of the loan?
Actually, I was thinking about the interest rate, but
Okay.
it's probably true. I mean, you know more about that than I do about the comps, right? But
Mhm.
and that's the reason we talk about comps because of the comparable
Right.
sales. But I've been doing a lot of new construction, and I have yet to see any house not appraised, right? And that's whether we're rolling in land or not rolling in land or whatever that is, it's the values have been really strong. I thought when I got into that business that I was going to be seeing a bunch of $100,000 loans, and I'm seeing stuff in the low 200s, mid 200s
Hmm.
all day.
Yeah.
And I've got a VA that I did that had quite a bit of land with it, but it appraised for 530, right?
Wow.
So, uh,
Wow.
so I don't, we're not talking about grandma's trailer anymore.
Right.
These are
Well,
very
and
nice.
my other question about that is, and I know you've mentioned it, you've said single wide several times, and
Mhm.
I've had conversations with you over the past couple months about single wides and that
Mhm.
they are indeed
Yeah,
they can be qualified for a
yeah,
loan, and you guys are buying the loans and making the loans. So a lot of people don't believe that
yeah,
single wides can
yeah,
you can work with them, but you can as long as they're after 1976. Is that right?
yeah, yeah.
And on a permanent foundation.
That's right. That's where the rub comes with single wides because they can be a little bit more portable, I guess, or more.
Right.
When you think of a single wide, many times people are thinking about it being in a trailer park and those kind of things. But if it is on a
Right.
permanent foundation, there's nothing wrong with that. So
Okay, and then when you said that about chattel, which is
mhm.
chattel, when I think chattel, I think personal property.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's what
exactly
you're
right.
kind of saying, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's going to be
Okay.
in the same category as, RV or an auto or whatever that happens to be. And
Okay.
there are lenders that specialize in that, and I can connect you with those. I mean, the whole idea is to just get the deal done. So there are a lot of things
Right.
we don't do that we refer out, but those, I mean, that I think that hits the highlights and it helps somebody if you're looking to list a place or buying a place. I think those are all things that
Mhm.
are, I think those are, high level. And
Right.
just to recap about pricing, we're not talking like, oh, everybody else is at 6.5% and, a manufactured home is at 8. No, no, we're talking like maybe we're a quarter of a point more expensive or something like that. So there are some pricing adjustments that are across the board for those things, but they're still very, very good. So but just so you know that it's not going to be this, as sharp a pricing perhaps as you would see on a single family. Um,
Right. Right. Well, this has been really great, Tim. And I love this checklist. Very helpful. And I will keep this in my email. If anyone is interested, just go ahead and call me 423-677-6677, or excuse me, email me at cindy@cindyedwards.com, and I will go ahead and send you this list.
that sounds great. And I'm Tim Arrowood, and it's arrowoodteam.com is where all my stuff is at. And my number here is 423-406-1567.
This is great. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.